This is Amy Laura Hall, and I am going to be recording segments of my fourth book. It's the fourth book I have written, and I have a good friend who is from my church who really would rather listen to my book than read it. And so I'm going to be recording my reading of my own fourth book on this YouTube channel. Okay. I'm gonna risk saying a few other things. I have assigned my own book in my class for the first time in my entire time of being at Duke University. I have never assigned my own writings in a class. That's my dog barking again. I've never assigned my own words, my own books in my class before, but because I don't have a chance to be in person with my students, I'm risking assigning my own book and my own article in a course I'm teaching this semester during the plague of 2020, the pandemic of 2020. So, yep, I'm doing that. And I will say also, though, that the book is available for free to students who are at Duke. So they will be able to access the book for free using the library system. So the book is Laughing at the Devil, Seeing the World with Julian of Norwich, and it's available for free using the Duke library system. And this is the amazing cover. I'm seeing it reversed, so maybe it's not reversed for y'all, but I'm seeing it reversed. But this is the amazing award-winning cover. It won, the Duke University Press won a whole award for this fabulous cover. So please judge my book by its cover. I worked for over it. This book was about 19 years in the making, and I tell that story in the book, so I'll just stop explaining and read my own best words about Julian of Norwich's best words. Here again, though, I feel like y'all need to see how beautiful the cover is with all the details on the book. It's just an amazingly beautiful book. So if you want to buy a book for somebody, you might buy this amazing book. Look at the color. It's a really visually beautiful book. But I'm recording this for people who have cues that are different than visual. It's just such a beautiful book, and there are details all throughout the book like this, where they have Duke University Press, who the cover art is by Julian Alexander. You can look this up. Yeah, I'll stop being so grateful at this point. It's not helping y'all. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I'm every time I look at the actual book that happened, that people helped me create, I am overwhelmed by gratitude. I did dedicate this book to my parents, Robert and Carol, aka Cookie and Pop. So I will start with I think it's called an epigraph. Just because I am a woman, must I therefore believe that I must not tell you about the goodness of God, when I saw at the same time both his goodness and his wish that it should be known? That's from the Spearing translation of Julian of Norwich, the Penguin edition. I'm going to try to indicate by my voice when I'm quoting somebody, when I'm reading words that aren't my own. So the table of contents are: preface, devil, : 0. Acknowledgements, introduction, love in everything. 1. Time, on point, POYNTE. 2. Truth, divine delight. 3. Blood, spiritual safety. 4. Bodies, nakedly and truly. Postscript. Preface, devil, : 0. I also saw our Lord scorn the devil's wickedness and set him at naught. And he wants us to do the same. At this revelation, I laughed heartily, and that made those who were around me laugh too, and their laughter pleased me. I wished that my fellow Christians had seen what I saw, and then they would all have laughed with me. But I did not see Christ laughing. Nevertheless, it pleases him that we should laugh to cheer ourselves and rejoice in God, because the fiend has been conquered. Julian of Norwich. Rejoice? But I did not see Christ laughing. The fiend has been conquered? The Lord has made the devil into a naught? NOUGHT, a naught? Into a no thing? What does it mean to laugh at the devil? To believe that the fiend has been conquered? What does it mean to live not governed by fear? Julian of Norwich is the medieval anchorite who taught me the courage to look evil in the eye. Here are the fundamentals a new reader needs to know about her. Julian of Norwich wrote 2 books that, when bound together, fit in a coat pocket. I wanted to make sure everybody knew you could actually read Julian of Norwich without having to carry around a giant tome of books in a box. It's true. She wrote tersely. She received her. Now I'm interpreting. Okay. As far as we can ascertain, meaning medieval scholars, I'm not a medieval scholar, but as far as medieval scholars can ascertain, Julian is the first woman to write or dictate a book in English. She was born in 1342, and that is also disputed, but we'll leave that aside for now. My dogs are singing along. Julian received a series of visions from God in 1373 while she was on what she and others around her thought would be her deathbed. It took Julian 2 decades to sort out what she first saw when God granted her visions of love and truth. This is the reason we have now a short text, which she wrote right after soon after she received her visions, and a long text, which is not that long, which is her thoughts about what she'd written in the short text, which was related to what she'd seen in her visions. This is the reason why we now have a short text and a long text describing what she saw. She wrote down her visions soon after she received them, the short text, and then took her time to think about how to write what is referred to as the long text. It took her years and years to think about the ramifications of what she'd seen. We know Julian became an anchorite at St. Julian's Church in Norwich by 1393. And that's, by the way, that was part of the reason why my book was not, I wasn't willing to say that the most exciting thing about Julian is that she was an anchorite. She didn't write about being an anchorite, so, but yeah, that's cost me some points with the Julian people, or I don't even know who it cost me points with, but I was supposed to say, yay, Julian was a recluse. And I was like, no, we don't know that. We don't know that she was a recluse. In fact, we're pretty sure she wasn't a recluse. All right. She wrote down her visions soon after she received them. The dogs, are they bothering you? I'm going to trust they aren't bothering you. Okay. They are loud, but I'm louder than they are. Okay. It took her years and years to think about the ramifications of what she had seen. We know that Julian became an anchorite at St. Julian's Church in Norwich by 1393. This means that by the time she was around 50 years old, she had dedicated herself to living the rest of her life in rooms attached to this busy church, centrally located in a port city. Her rooms faced a busy road. The fact that Julian eventually committed to live in a local church strikes some contemporary readers as remarkable. And I am gently pushing back against some editing that I was receiving that made it clear that I was supposed to say it was really amazing that Julian was an anchorite. I just didn't, I'm not sure. I pushed against some editing suggestions at that point. Because it's not the most, she didn't write about that. She didn't write about being an anchorite. She wrote about God. She wrote about the world. She wrote about the whole freaking universe. She didn't write about being in a little secluded, Her rooms, and this is true, faced a busy road. The fact that Julian eventually, by the time she was around 50, as far as we can tell, or sometime around there, committed to live in a local church strikes some contemporary readers as remarkable. I am fascinated most by her extraordinarily unconfined visions, as she testified to a God uncontrolled by the strictures of her time and my own. Also, Julian of Norwich laughed at the devil. I have come to hear Julian's laughter as a call to holy audacity, C-I-T-Y. Holy, H-O-L-Y, holy audacity. She received her delighted and defiant laugh while incapacitated with what could have been yet another recurrence of the Great Plague that had devastated England in her childhood. There was ample evidence of evil in her time, and there is ample evidence of the fiend in my own time. Miseries and evil machinations, that's M-A-C-H-I-N-A-T-I-O-N-S, over which to weep and to rage. Julian received the courage to resist, to defy, and even to laugh. This book is about Julian's defiant laughter, her own words, in her own words, and from her own time. And my teaching these words in historical context to other people confounded by life. Like many women I know, I find it almost impossible to laugh while in full awareness of evil. As part of my vocation, I teach and write about war, torture, drone strikes, sexual domination, and racial terror. Evil makes me angry, scared, and sad. I laugh from my centered, most courageous part of my soul, a part of myself that I can access only when I'm in the presence of people whom I trust my full, vulnerable truth and hope. Then, and only then, I sometimes, and this is true, people who know me well will know this, I sometimes laugh so loudly that strangers turn around and stare. I snort. I do. When I laugh really hard, I snort. uh, I snort and spontaneously clap, sometimes with my hands in the air, praising God for whatever truth I have just heard. I just did that last week in the co-op parking lot in Durham, and I was just like testifying, like snorting and laughing, and people did stare, but yeah, it's okay. I have come to experience this rare experience of full-on laughter as a miracle, as a dose of sanity to help me move on to another day, to face more of the bloody truths of my own time. And this is how this title came to be. So, Nicki Minaj, you will never know who I am because I'm too not somebody in your stratosphere. But Nicki Minaj, thank you so much for your laughter. God. Nicki Minaj, and this is a very, very true story, and I'm going to have to try not to get verklempt as I talk about this. That's a Yiddish word, verklempt. I'm going to try not to tear up while talking about this, but this is a very, very true story, and it was a true story as I was trying to finish this book. Nicki Minaj is a musician to whose music my daughters and I dance in the car. Her songs, Nicki Minaj, and I should spell her name, N-I-C-K-I-M-I-N-A-J, Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj is a musician to whose music my daughters and I dance in the car. Her songs feature a laugh that is all out courageous and joyful rebellious and delighted. She turns around and looks squarely at the punishing music industry and laughs with a snort. When I first heard the laughter in Nicki Minaj's music, it struck me that her combination of courage and elation was like the laugh Julian laughed in the face of the devil. Her lyrics mock the ways a male-dominated and racist music industry measures women's bodies. And she plays with caricatures of sexuality, making them powerfully her own. With defiant indecorum, she laughs. Julian also faced full-on many bloody truths about power and cruelty, and she refused to flinch. Sometime around 1373, I faced defiant indecorum. Sometime around 1373, when Julian was about 30 years old, she received a series of visions as an answer to prayer. She asks for vivid perception of Christ's passion, meaning Jesus' death on a cross. By passion, Julian means a particular kind of passion. She asks to be infused with a full sense of Jesus when, by her theology, Jesus was bringing all of the world into God. So by Julian's understanding of time, which I'll get to, you're going to have to be patient with me because I'm going to want to jump ahead, but I need to be patient with myself and with y'all. So keep reading. By passion, Julian means a particular kind of passion. She asks to be infused with a full sense of Jesus when, by her theology, Jesus was bringing all of the world into God. So Julian is reading into a point. I will get to this, P-O-Y-N-T-E. So point is both a time and a space. And by Julian's understanding, God is bringing all of everything that has ever been, everything that's ever will be, every little tiny thing, every pear, every ant, every potato, I think, into God's self in Jesus Christ in the cross. So I'll keep going. She also asks for bodily sickness, and this is one of the ways that Julian has been read as weird. I mean, she is weird. She is weird. She's definitely weird by Western common sense standards. Like, who would ask for a bodily sickness? Who would ask to be connected with all things everywhere being brought into God? Like, that sounds really scary. It is. She asks for 3 wounds. Today, this may sound bizarre. At first reading, it sounded masochistic to me. And that's true. That's actually true. That's what I thought. I thought it sounded masochistic. But it was not odd during the Middle Ages for fervent Christians, F-E-R-V-E-N-T, fervent Christians, to ask God for Jesus to become one with their own body. It was not strange for people seeking holiness to feel in their bones a union with Jesus on the cross. Julian interprets her time of sickness as a gift of vision from God. In her room, focusing on a simple household crucifix on the wall, she sees everyone and everything that ever was and ever will be safe, held safe by God in love. Not just tolerance, like God is like tolerating us, but held by God in love. When I say Julian laughed at evil, I mean she asked God to be with her while she kept looking the fiend in the eye, knowing that, as she puts it, she has been given strength, and this is a quote, strength to resist all the fiends of hell and all spiritual enemies. Rather than viewing the world around her as filled to the brim with misery, she saw simple miracles and, I can't believe I used this word, but I did, resilient safety. I would reword that differently now. I'd say tenacious safety. Tenacious, T-E-N-A, tenacious. Look, tenacious. I would say right now, because resilient has become such a catchword. It's become a phrase. Tenacious safety. She did not deny that there was a fiend to be conquered. She did not pretend the world was simple. The devil is no thing. Because of this, her laughter is all the more powerful as an antidote to a religion of fear. She did not believe that evil was not around her. She was clear that evil was around her, and she laughed at the devil. Julian of Norwich received suffering as a kind of inoculation against dread, D-R-E-A-D, an inoculation against dread, a reasonable response to the manifold traumas around her. Recurring plague, famine, a brutal aristocracy would have been precisely to catch a contagion of terror. I'll reread that sentence. A reasonable response to the manifold traumas around her. Recurring plague, famine, a brutal aristocracy would have been precisely to catch a contagion of terror. Instead, she changed the whole scene. In her vision, God gave her the blood of Jesus straight from Jesus' own body in a way that changed how she saw the entire universe, including God. Seeing God's, as she puts it, familiar love, she knew God as hanging about us in tender love, like our clothing. Hers is not the only way to understand and live the Christian faith, but she has helped to shape my life and the lives of many other people seeking truth. I am still trying to follow her lead, and that's true even today as I record this on September 18th, 2020, as I record myself reading my book that I worked on for 19 or so years. Dancing, laughing, seeing, crying, and thinking, and again, praying and remembering how to trust enough to laugh from the most centered part of my body and soul. That's just through the little part of the preface. So I'm going to have to read this through multiple readings. I knew that was going to happen. I had a colleague ask me exactly how many pages this book was. And I thought, you know what? Just try to get through it quickly and learn something. You won't. You're going to have to read it through closely.